David's running to the back. Okay, Dave, we're not waiting for you. Oh, we are. All right.
Good morning.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the June meeting of the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council. We will commence the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone could rise and face the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. All right. Good morning, everyone. And again, welcome. First order of business, item 4 is approval of the agenda. Everyone should have a copy. And for those that didn't get it, there's extra copies on the back table. Any comments or changes, additions to today's agenda? Okay. Hearing none in the room, seeing none online, all those in favor of approving signify by saying aye. Any opposition? Excellent. Agenda approved as presented. Next order of business, the item 5 is the approval of the meeting minutes from our May 15th meeting. And I do know there was one, I think there was one comment or a correction that was provided to Carrie. So I know she captured that. Any other additions or corrections to the minutes from last meeting? Okay, hearing none in the room, seeing none online, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Right, hearing and seeing none, the minutes are approved with the one amendment as presented. All right, moving into our new business, we have a large amount of business to conduct this morning, obviously with elections and other items. First and foremost, though, item 6A is change in meeting location. So we absolutely appreciated the support of the El Dorado Diamond Springs firefighters, both the fire department and the Firefighters Association, for the use of this facility. It was really what pulled us out of the COVID times and gave us a place to operate and build the hybrid meetings, and it's worked extremely well. Unfortunately, as they're going through changes, this facility will no longer be available to us on the third Wednesdays during our time slot. And so we discussed at the executive board, do we change the day? And we felt that would be like a huge shipwreck that we wouldn't recover from. And so, as always, Hugh hit the road like Huell Hauser and found, we talked about some other alternate locations, which we know can be a challenge in our county with finding the right facility that meets our needs. But we were fortunate enough, we contacted the American Legion Hall on Greenstone. Hugh visited with them, and then Janet and I followed up with Hugh. Excellent facility. They would be very excited to have us there. The third Wednesdays of the month are entirely available up till 4 o'clock. And we have access to that entire facility throughout the entire day for all of our other meetings and things that we do. The cost is slightly higher. It will be $2,200 for the whole year as opposed to $1,200. So a slight increase in the cost. But the advantage is multi. The parking, for those that know of the facility, the parking is amazing. We'll never exceed the parking capacity. It's quiet. It's easy to get in and out of the room capacity. They'll work with us so that we can set up our audio visual and hybrid meeting. All of that is well accommodated there. They have tables. They are very supportive.
Tables on rolling carts.
Yes. Yes. Hopefully be much easier. So we made the executive decision to go and make that because we needed to be out of here by August. And so we made that executive decision that we would start our July meeting there. That way we close out at the end of the fiscal year here and start over there. So we tried to minimize the impact to everybody, but so again, and we'll get this out with addresses, everything to everybody multiple times But effective our July meeting, we'll be meeting at the American Legion Hall at 4561 Greenstone Road. So for those that aren't familiar, it's between Highway 50 and Mother Lode Drive right there on Greenstone. Chris.
So like you say, I've been there many times and it's a wonderful facility. Thank you for finding it because it's going to be a big deal. It's kind of another level up in terms of capacity, the ability to get there easily, transportation, and the parking. But I was wondering, a very important question is the bar.
Yes, I failed to address that up front in my overview of that. So the bar is certainly available. We will not be utilizing it during the meeting, but the entire facility is available for other events, including the use of that. And so as Karen brought up at our last meeting in this discussion about getting our Fire Safe Council network together for some annual get-togethers, it's a perfect facility for that. So I think it does open the door, and it does, like Chris said, raises the bar for us, and literally and figuratively for the opportunities to do things. So we'll spend the next month working on the logistics and getting all this stuff moved out there. And just a heartfelt thanks to Diamond Fire and the Firefighters Association for being super gracious with us here. We sort of had full access to this up till now. So, all right, next up, elections. This is always that time of year where Karen's super busy trying to process ballots and put all this together. So I will turn it over. Both she and Hugh chaired the elections committee this year, and I'll turn it over, I think, probably to Karen first.
Nope, all done.
Good morning, everyone. Okay, so we had 20 out of 21 return their ballot. So, yay.
Thank you.
And so for the candidates for the general board that were elected into position, it was Ken Pemlock, Hugh Council, myself, Sherry Hawk, Mike Conley, Chris Payne, Angel Ball, Janet Berenston, Alice Cantelo, Dorothy Fine, Paul Penn, and William Bill Osgood. That's your general board. And the executive board, Ken Pemlock as chair, Dorothy Fine as vice chair, Angel Ball as secretary, Janet as treasurer, and Paul Penn as parliamentarian.
Okay, so any questions for Karen or Hugh on the result of the election?
There are so many names, I could write them all down. Will you put stuff down on the?
Yeah, yes, we'll. David didn't have a microphone, but yes, we'll follow up as a result. Once we complete the vote, we will, and at the end of the day, we'll follow up with who was part of the election. So that's captured. Okay. Okay.
I would just like to thank everyone. It's been my pleasure to be the secretary for the last number of years. So I welcome Angel, who will be taking my position, but I'll be around. So.
Well, and I would also like to personally thank both Karen and Hugh. A lot's happened in the well, Karen's been on it for a number of years, and Hugh in the last 3 years, and a lot has happened in these years, and we've been doing a lot, and just the effort that's gone in, and I really want to thank you.
Well, I just want to mirror what Karen said. I mean, if we've been successful, it's not because I'm here. It's because all you folks helped. You know, you don't do it by yourself, and you all know that. So, and I'm with Karen. I'm still going to be around as far as I know, but no, we'll still be here. And I've talked to Dorothy multiple times, and I'm super excited the fact that she's going to be sitting here and she's going to do a great job. I know, and there's a whole lot of things that you're going to get that you would have never got from me, but. So I really look forward to that. And Dorothy knows I'm around to tell her, you know, what I think always, whether it's right or wrong.
And we are just excited that Dorothy and Angel are still willing to do it after you talk to everybody.
It's always a surprise.
Well, just, before we vote, just a round of applause and thank you for. And I know I'm premature, but certainly a welcome to Dorothy and Angel. All right, so any other comments before we put that to a vote? Okay, so we'll vote on these together, but we are voting to ratify the ballot and the votes for the Board of Directors, the General Board, and also the slate of E-Board members as presented by Karen. So all those in favor of Board and E-Board as presented signify by saying aye. Any opposition? Awesome. Well, thank you all. The election passes as presented. Welcome to everybody, and thank you again for everyone for willingness to step up and be part of that organization. All right, next up is a bit more of the administrative business, but Karen's got the information on associate council renewals.
So Ken, last year we ran through them. We named them all. Are we doing that again this year to vote on?
Well, I think it makes a statement, Karen, for all of us to know all three. I believe there are 32, but if you could run through them, I think it's good for everyone for the record.
And they are in alphabetical order by the first letter, not by the second one. So we'll start with Auburn Lake Trails Fire Safe Council. Ockham Fairplay Fire Safe Council. Camino Fire Safe Council. Cedar Grove Fire Safe Council. Paloma Lotus Fire Safe Council. Pool Pilot Hill Fire Safe Council. Diamond Spring Fire Safe Council. Fort Jim Fire Safe Council. Gallagher Road Landowner Association Fire Safe Council. Georgetown Divide Fire Safe Council. Gold Hill Estate Fire Safe Council. Gold Ridge Forest Fire Safe Council. Greater Cameron Park Area Fire Safe Council. Greenstone County Country Fire Safe Council. Grizzly Flat Fire Safe Council. Lake Hills Fire Safe Council. Logtown Fire Safe Council. Mosquito Fire Safe Council. Oak Hill Area Fire Safe Council. Oma Ranch Fire Safe Council. Patterson Ranch Fire Safe Council. Placerville Fire Safe Council. Rancho del Sol Fire Safe Council. Rescue Community Fire Safe Council. Royal Equestrian Estate Fire Safe Council. Sandridge Fire Safe Council. Serrano Fire Safe Council. Sierra Spring Regional Fire Safe Council. Strawberry Fire Safe Council. Texas Hill Fire Safe Council. Volcanoville Fire Safe Council. Wrights Lake and Dark Lake Fire Safe Council. And that's it.
That's awful. Well, first and foremost, I think you all deserve a round of applause. All the paperwork's in, and that's quite an accomplishment. And, right? So Karen, and anything else, information we need on that? We were just going to vote to affirm all of the paperwork for the year and acceptance for this year of the Fire Safe Council. But any other comments on that before we do that? Chris?
Karen, could you just say read all of the submittals and you find them compliant? And just make that statement and then we can do the vote. You would do that, please.
Okay. I received everybody's paperwork. It consisted of the application for associate council agreement for the associate council and conflict of interest statement. So we have everybody's documents in hand, ready for Carrie to scan and ready to be approved.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Any comments or questions before we vote? Awesome. Thank you. All those in favor of approving the acceptance of all the paperwork for our associate fire safe councils for 2024? All those in favor signify by saying aye. I have a hand up. I'm sorry, I missed Gold Ridge. Must be an acceptance. Any opposition? Right. Approves with full vote. Thank you, everyone, and welcome for another year.
And a round of applause for Karen.
Yes. This means she's got 32 associate councils to work on insurance for and keep track of all those things. It's actually Angel now, so thanks. Lots. Right, if it wasn't for the fire marshal, we would lock the doors and keep her.
Well, I want to note that Karen did all that while she was driving 17 teenagers around.
Not fun.
Definitely a story for another time. We want to hear. Awesome. All right. So item 6D is training committee charter as promised. Hugh brought back, and you all should have it in your board packet, the draft training committee charter. So Hugh, I'll let you just provide an overview of what they're looking at.
Yeah, well, what we did, or what I did is, first of all, I didn't expect Ken to tell me to make a charter when I said I wanted to have a committee, but we are. But anyway, yeah, I listed in there, it's broken down into various things. It tells what the purpose of the committee is, obviously, and what some of our objectives are. And I think you're all familiar with the objectives or things that we've done. There's nothing new in there that the training group was already doing. Just some of the stuff is in a little different way. Talks a little bit about our authority, where we get our authority under the umbrella of the board. And then a little bit about the membership. And I wanted to keep the membership relatively small, because any of you that have worked with groups, if you have too big of a committee, you never get anything done. So, but the committee is made up of all the folks that are on the committee have been trained and are also part of our training group, the train the trainer group. So, and they're all tried and true participants. Now that will change. That can change out later. But one of the big things was I wanted to make sure that the Fire Safe Council had control, because there are folks on our committee. We have Richie from OWAPR, Jeff Hogue from CAL FIRE, and Lucas from County Fire. They're on there, and I wanted to make sure, because the committee's not that big, but I still wanted to make sure that we being the Fire Safe Council had the majority vote, no matter what happened. So there's something in there about 55% of that group always has to be the Fire Safe Council. So we still always have control. So that's why that is there. And then there's a little bit about our meetings in there. And when we have meetings, what we're doing, we'll keep you posted. You'll always be abreast of everything that's going on there. And that's really all. There's some stuff in there about an evaluation if we do things, and the executive board always, everything will run through them. So there'll be no surprises for you that we're out there trying to train somebody how to start fires or something. I don't know. Anyways, and then still have the opportunity to amend that down the road. But it has to be a majority vote of the Training Education Committee. So, where we are right now with the Training Education Committee, we're kind of on hold because Elizabeth, and she may want to talk about that later, but Elizabeth has the other group. As you all know, we kind of postponed our training this year because we started looking and we trained all these people and we had 104 assessments done. And we thought, wait a minute, what's wrong? So we're in the process of evaluating that. Elizabeth's running that group. It's an ad hoc group. It's not a committee. It's an ad hoc group. And it's made up of the training committee plus other interested parties. We have some other interested parties that have shown a great interest in trying to get these things resolved. And as soon as those are resolved, then that'll come back to you And after that, then we'll be able to make decisions where we want to go from there with the training committee. When do we want to have our next class? When do we want to, what do we want to do? So really, that's kind of where we are right now, unless Chris has any questions. Okay.
In the charter, it talks about educating community members. So can you clarify, is this in a broad sense, or is it still specific to the assessor program?
No, it's still the assessor program, although we will get involved, as you know, because you're part of the group. We still get involved working with the insurance industry, because the insurance people have come to us and said, hey, can you make presentations about what you're doing in your training group and home hardening and those kind of things. And at some point, we may have insurance people sit in some of our training classes that they want to know. So it'll be that. But as far as I think what Alice, what you're asking is this part of the outreach stuff that you do? The answer is no, it's not. It's really focused on the training. The training group are the ones that, we talked about quarterly classes that on different things. And if you call, Alice and Kit were here a couple of months ago and did a thing on a class for us for a couple hours. Training committee will work on those kinds of things, and we'll keep those together. As if we find things that come up that you as a group say, hey, we'd like to have a training class on this, or whatever it may be, we'll evaluate that and put stuff together to help you with those kind of things. But as far as general outreach, when we say education, I frankly, I did originally have it, the training committee, and I was told that we're doing education too. We got to educate, we got to educate the people like insurance people and stuff like that when they come to training. So that's why the name is there. It really is not outreach. It's not public. It's not the public education stuff that you're doing.
Thank you.
Chris?
Okay. I just took one of mine, which was the homeowners insurance question about just keeping up, being knowledgeable about where we are at the state level on this subject, because it's extremely important. Captures a lot of board of supervisors' times in terms of topics. But the one that I thought might be pertinent is the county's general plan safety element. I've been there. I've heard the discussion and the approval, I believe, recently on the safety element. How does this fit with what the goals are at the county level, or do you feel like it doesn't need to mirror that aspect of the county general plan? I'm just wondering.
Okay, there's kind of two things as I see it. If we want to educate, if we want to know about what's going on with the county, with the general plan, those kind of things, and certainly the education committee can contact the county and have somebody come and speak to us. In fact, we've already talked to the sheriff's office and other people, and we had planned at some point of having them come in and do a couple hour thing on the new evac stuff and all of that. So the committee that's the group. If this group wants something like that, then the training committee would be the ones that would contact these people, see if we could find someone that's willing to come in and do a presentation, get the presentation set up, let everybody know they're going to be here after, would be after our meeting on some date. So those kind of things are out. But certainly it's not up to, we're not at some level to be able to speak at the level they are.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Good morning. I've got a quick question for you. I read through this and I think there's one portion that is missing. It could be just me reading it. But I think that we should also put within this charter grant applications, because there's other ways of us getting money to help support this training and education if there's grant money available. So I would recommend one way or another through the objectives to identify grant applications which would enhance the training and education committee purpose. Hugh, I could get you the words unless they want to vote today and I'll take my words off.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say that, because I honestly did think about that. In fact, I almost called Tamara and asked her a bunch of stuff, and she's probably really glad I didn't. But about that, and I'm perfectly fine if we want to put something like that, but I looked at it this way, grants are grants. You know, grants are grants, and if the education committee for money, we'll get it any way we can get it. We'll get it if we have to use a grant. I get your point on grants and doing that for revenue. That, to me, that's just a given. It was a given that since the entire Fire Safe Council frankly runs on grants. That's what we run on. It was just a given to me that would be in there. But if you want some specific wording, I'm happy to do that.
Ernie, how about an option to there is, because there's lots of different ways we could fund what's going on in the training world, but what if we work with make sure that on the grants side of things, working with Tamara and the grants committee, that we're ensuring that as we're looking at grant opportunities, that training is a part of the things we're outreaching for, as well as our other outreach grants and things. So we handle the grant opportunities through the grants committee, is making sure that they have a punch list of programs that we need to support, including training.
Yeah.
So to your point, Ernie, we've included the cost for the training programs and some of the grants that we've been writing. The costs are actually really minimal. So it's not even really possible to get a grant just for the training program. I mean, it's like, we looked at it like $1,500 or something maximum to do the training as we have it now. But we have included it in a kind of larger budget in some of the grants that we've written. I don't know that it needs to be in the charter for the committee. I think it's actually in my job description to, write grants to fund the activities of the Fire Safe Council. So for me, that falls under that.
And also training committee, we're in the budget. We'll be in the budget, the line item. I'm not going to be here, but I'll make damn sure that, no. No, the training committee should be a line item in the budget. That we do that. And I'm sure, right, Janet and I have worked together long enough. She'll either slap me or we'll get it in there. So.
I have a choice.
This dialogue made me think that the consistency of each committee should be something that maybe might be one sentence in here that says consistent with other El Dorado County Fire Safe committees, which then would cover any topic, because as Tamara said, this is really in the grants. What do you call what's your committee title? Which grants? It's a responsibility that we take overall broadly by the Fire Safe Council through its committee. In your case, that makes a lot of sense. So structurally, just making sure that all the committees are together.
Well, and in case folks haven't looked, this is really the most formal charter we have. Right. And so I think a lot of this is really something rather than have it in each of the committee charters as we go along, is to just look at our policy and bylaws to ensure that we cover it, rather than try to look at this language individually.
Okay.
To Tamara's point, that's exactly why we have Tamara and we have what we do. That we fund everything that we do through looking for opportunities at grants and other things. And it's incumbent upon the training committee to come forward to Tamara and to the e-board to look for opportunities if they need to do something. And then the council can make some decisions on how best to get that funding. I guess any other thoughts or questions that we haven't talked about? So what I would like to put out on the table is that certainly we'll ask you to go back and take a look to see if there's anything in here that we would tweak to try to meet the intent of what folks are saying. But I would like to have us move this charter forward as presented in the spirit of what we talked about.
You want a formal motion?
Yes, I'd like to have a formal motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the training and educational committee charter as presented today, with reflective, if anything you finds from this discussion could be included. That's my motion.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Karen Pullen seconds. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Outstanding. And once again, you can't talk anymore. You.
It's my last chance. Good. I just want to let everybody know Dorothy Fine, who's your new vice chair, she is part of the training committee. So you have an e-board member always on that committee, and we want to hope it would stay like that. So that information that happens in the meetings we have with the training group, that information is brought forward at e-boards to keep everything up. So we don't have to have special meetings and all that. So we try to keep it that way, just so you know. So I hope that will ease a little bit of maybe, well, how is that going to work? I'm done.
Well, no, and thank you, Hugh. Again, a lot of effort, you and the committee behind putting this together, and thank you. Again, all right. So this next one, 6E, I think it's good for a little discussion here. And I think as a group, obviously, we have this as a voting item, but I think it may go differently than what's proposed. But I think this is a great opportunity to get some discussion out with all of us regarding the website. So we've spent the last 12 to 18 months working with our existing website vendor, Lanatech, when we were really reaching sort of we were struggling with applications failing and just not a current design. A lot's happened, since it first, was put together. So we made the decision to continue to work with Lanatech to make the changes that were made. And without getting into a lot of detail, it was a very difficult, challenging process with the existing vendor for lots of reasons to move. And we're doing this all at a time when our applications for defensible space in particular were non-functional and failing. And so it was creating a significant challenge for our clients, but also for the staff trying to process applications and working with contractors. Throughout the course of that process, we found it very challenging with the existing vendor to meet our needs, to listen to our concerns, and really come up with a product at the end that was really reflective of what we wanted as a council. But we were very far into the process, so we got through to the other side. We've got the applications working, a lot of effort from Jessica and Carrie and others to get us where we got. And we do have a new design, and we do have, functionality. But we met as the e-board, including the prospective e-board members, including both Dorothy and Angel at the last e-board meeting to discuss, what do we do going forward? And we invited a website vendor to come with us to come present what she has through her company. And I provided that proposal in everyone's board packet. That was Access Design Studio. And the feedback that we have received, a couple of things. One is the overall website design needs to be taken up a significant notch. It's just not where we need to be. Two, we really need to expand and work more on the home hardening, the home support piece, that whole section of the tab that talks about defensible space and home hardening and sort of the core of the things we work on. And then also we don't have, and I tried to figure out how to get here for a long time. We don't have a privacy policy or security policy. And we are, with the amount of effort, with the number of clients that we have at putting their personal information on our website portal, and just the daily business that we do with contractors and all of us, that has really become a priority. So those were the items that we moved forward and asked for this one vendor to give us a proposal on to come back with. And so and overall, it's not just about the look of the website, but we don't meet the ADA compliant website. Now, again, it's people with visual challenges, etc., different colors, different word font sizes, all those things matter. And our website, this is an opportunity for us also to look at that and put our website in a position where we're truly reaching all of the people that we serve in our community. So again, that was included as part of this discussion that we had with the website designer. So what was in that proposal was what I just said, a complete redesign with the addition and changes that we talked about. But the cost is significant for all of that. What she proposed, it's $15,000, and it would take about, over the next year, I believe is what was proposed to get that done. In addition to that, she gave us a proposal for ongoing monthly maintenance support costs, and I believe that was $225 a month. And that provides a certain level of security work every month and ensuring the website's secure and all of that. Plus, I think an hour of tech support a month, as well as you can do a little bit. You can use that time for upgrades and other things as long as you're within that. So we spent about $6,000 with in 2023 and a little bit into 2024 with the existing website designer, trying to fix the things we were doing, plus just the ongoing maintenance requests. So this is over double to what we were paying for, at least based on this proposal. But we're looking at something completely different, and we need, with the activity level in our website, these programs are becoming very complicated. I mean, they're requiring the whole back end of this with tracking our applications, providing automatic email notifications to contractors, scheduling jobs. All of that is handled through the back end of the website. So in a nutshell, all of that rolled up into the proposal that we received from Access Design Studio. But in having put this out there and listening to a number of us, as folks have been, and I appreciate it, if folks have been reading this, this may not be, I don't want to presume without other bids, this is necessarily where we want to go. I think that the other e-board members that were part of that meeting can certainly weigh in on what they heard. But anytime you spend this kind of money or make a proposal, obviously we need to do our due diligence. And I know I've heard, from others, et cetera. So I don't know, before I just open it up for some comments, I think maybe I want to ask the e-board folks that were there just perspective.
Yeah, well, I'll start with a couple little things that I was interested in and that I wanted to make sure that were there. One, we've talked for the last year or so about, even when we talked about redoing it last time, if we could come up with some form of a back door that fire safe councils could access, because there's stuff that we may want to keep on our website that is not something that the public is concerned about, like our policies and procedures or certain things that fire safe councils want to get to. And so part of this is she's willing to look at that and to make, have a back door where there's an access code or an access thing you could get in as a fire safe council, if you're one of our fire safe councils, to get the information that maybe is out there that the public, if the public has no interest in, or right. So keep it there. So that's one thing. The other thing was that she also said that she would have available, and now it's not free, but I don't think it's, if I recall, the cost wasn't all that much. A lot of fire safe councils struggle with, or even may not have their own webpage for their own little fire safe council. I know we struggle with it. We have our Janet does a great job and stuff, but she said, yes, she can provide a template that people could work on a website. That template would look very much like the master website. So it all look uniform and take care of that. So those are two things out there that I think provide, to me anyway, as someone that's looking at this whole thing, I think is another part of this that makes this attractive to us.
And there is a separate proposal in her document that talks about what it would cost to provide each associate council website. It's all, I believe it's about $1,100 so each. So it's expensive too. Wasn't necessarily part of what we were putting on the table today, but again, trying to start with putting some costs out there.
But just saying, the cool part about that is they would all have the same look and feel. The branding piece of it would be together in the same thing.
Let me, Lester, start there.
Could you repeat that again, or did you say 11?
Yeah, let me find that. It's in the document. Yeah, basically the second half of this project timeline, she talked about what it would take to do that and provide the template pages, sections for the home, resources, news and events, about and contact, creation of a document for councils that defines exactly what content is needed for the site. So they would do that for each of those. This quote is not for an accessible ADA compliant template. That would cost, building that template, putting all that together, the template would be $2,850 to build the template for all of us collectively. And then it would be each Fire Safe Council site, the cost would be $1,100 to build the site, what each site once the template's done. So that part's very pricey, and we really didn't spend a lot of time discussing that with this vendor because we weren't sure that's what we weren't ready to go there. But I included it in here so that folks had the opportunity to see what that would be. But there are other vendors, other folks out there. Remember that. So let me think. Let's go to Chuck, and then we'll go back in the back.
On the individual, especially fire safe council sites, the initial cost is $35,000 or so for all the sites. The template is $100 a piece. But what about the yearly the maintenance, the upkeep? Is that going to be included in the Twitter's $600 month?
Not the $225 a month, which is in the first proposal. That's just for the El Dorado County Fire Safe Council website maintenance, not the 32 associate councils. Correct. She has that quoted here at $1,100. Yeah, I don't think she's got an ongoing.
No, I don't think she did that because we didn't show a whole lot of interest in that.
Yeah.
Because of the cost and because of those things, but recognize, I think of my own fire safe council, if I can find $1,100 somewhere, we might want to do that depending on what the monthly cost would be. But we'll get that, if a lot of councils are interested. But our thought was, let's get the main page up. Let's let everybody look at it. You see what it looks like, see what it is. If it looks really good and you like that and you say, hey, that might be worth me doing that with my local council, but we don't have to, but it is optional that we could get it.
Yes, in the back.
So my question is, did anyone give any kind of thought to including email service for the associate counties? So instead of using our own personal email and contact information, there'd be like standards like chairperson at such and such. That's
Yeah, we had that was not part of this proposal. As it sits right now, the County Fire Safe Council has an account with Microsoft that manages Office 365. That's where the storage space, the cloud space is, as well as the email accounts for the staff and the executive board. But we don't, building anything beyond that would require a significant amount of discussion and effort, because obviously we have a lot of board members associated with each of the 32 councils. So we did not propose that as part of the website redesign.
And
Oh, yes, Paul, go ahead.
so I touched base with Ken on this yesterday. So there's a service provider out there that it's the way I could make the analogy, they provide a service that's very much like a Microsoft Word, but it's used for building websites. County Fire went to this service about 3 years ago, and I talked with them being streamlined. And for them to convert our entire website, allow email services, so forth and so on, it would be $1,500 to convert our entire website today over to this new platform. Then it would be a maintenance fee of $745 a month. And but your outlay for the first year is $2,245. It also includes web hosting. Web hosting.
Kind of like
Got it.
So I don't know what we're paying for web hosting. I tried to look at the budget and I saw like $4,000 in there, but I don't think we're paying that much. And yeah, so the services this group offers for the converting it over, $1,500 to convert it over to their tools. It's then very user driven, drag and drop, put in your articles. It has the design tool, direct links to Google Maps, social feed integrations via one click, annual design reviews so that a dedicated account manager would be there as part of this to help out continuously ongoing. It has a compliance and posting checklist, ADA. I know we don't have to have it, but they have ADA built in so that it's really good color. They, access to PDF for mitigation. $50,000 indemnification for any ADA violation that might come forward. Meeting assistant, one-click social media sharing, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you name it, it's there. It allows payments via e-commerce. If we wanted people to make donations or whatnot, they could do that as well. E-signature on forms. It has an internal communications hub, meaning all the associate councils could be part of that internal communications hub and have secure access to information. And there's some embedded tools and then ongoing training and support. I know I'll just, and I see that County Fire is on the board there on the call, but from what I've seen in my other role that I play, I think it was a very good move and really freed up resources to be focused on the mission and not technology. And 7:45 a month maintenance. Oh, I'm sorry, no,
Yeah.
maintenance, hold on, let me verify that. Let me verify. Yeah, no. Yeah,
The treasurer just had a hiccup.
And I'll verify that, but I'm looking at some of these other online tools, and this comes from a pretty good technology.
Yeah.
We should probably look at something else.
Yeah, we understand.
Yeah, no, so point well taken, Paul, and so I think, so any other thoughts?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead,
so.
Chris and Alice.
So I'm webmaster for Conference of California Historical Societies, a statewide group. We have a website, but it's driven by a platform called Nation Builder. It was originally an election type where you go into communities and then they keep track of people for elections, but then they converted it into all of these broader database and communications and all of the things that we're talking about that we want. But what I'm just saying is that there are other platforms I believe out there that are less expensive, it seems. And also at Nation Builder at this website, I'm constantly getting communications from people who want to build a better platform, better website. So I believe in a broad sense, there are a lot of opportunities. We just got to tie up the one that you guys have attempted by this proposition to cover. But you know what? We did just finish this website. And at least from a functional perspective, I don't see any real hurry unless you guys as executive committee says, hey, we don't have this, we need it now, we got to get this taken care of. If that's where we are right now, then it's a more of an emergency than it is just a common operational decision.
So just
Thank you.
Just for clarification, and I will we'll pass it to Alice and then to Jessica. It's not an emergency, but there are some functional things that we haven't asked them to fix because we don't want to invest a bunch here before we move on. I think we want to have purpose with making some decisions, but we want to make a good decision. But we don't want to let this languish. We really need to keep this moving sort of into the next direction. So Alice, and then I'll turn it to Jessica.
I'm really excited to see this one. But one thing I wanted to mention was, in some ways it almost is maybe not an emergency, but there's been a lot of many fire chief councils have that kind of portal. So I think I'm really happy to see that. And also the opportunity for increased education is huge on this with both Harmony and Penske Space. So I'm excited about that. But because it's such a huge decision, and I think having a web company that we have experience with, or someone has experience with, and that has good experience with, we've learned from the other, if that's important, that we can't just try. For like, for example, Streamline, I know we at Oak Hill use it, I think Frizzly Flat uses it. So there's other information out here. So I think the group that just makes a decision should be not a tiny little group, and should be a little broad, make sure that it has people who are interested in this process have a chance to participate.
Thank you. Jessica, you had a comment?
Yeah.
I was just gonna talk about functionality. I solely deal with all the applications from all the assistance programs. I can tell you outside of the money that we spent on the webpage trying to revamp it, that's not including the money they've paid me to work with the IT person for hours and hours every single week. And I'm telling you, it's not anywhere near functional or perfect. There's a lot of errors that I'm aware of. And I kind of scope through it, but I spend a lot of time doing things that could be a lot easier if it was done correctly. And in regard to the webpage and the applications, as you well know, most of our clientele are senior citizens and they have a difficult time navigating the webpage. It seems kind of clustered to them. And so I spend a lot of time just sending them directly to the application. They don't even look at the webpage because it's too much for them. And so there's a lot of reasons why it's not. We just need to change it.
Okay. Thank you.
Ken, perhaps I'm thinking maybe a technology committee, ad hoc technology committee might be appropriate and have some folks dive into it, for the comments, getting a wider view. And I don't know if we can make a motion at this time to do something like that.
Well, and we have the whole idea of putting this on there was I wasn't quite sure where we would go with this today, but this is exactly what I was hoping to hear in the discussion. What I would like is to honestly to have and I put them on the spot, but I'd like to have a member of the executive board sort of help facilitate that, because this is pretty important to have this connection with what's going on. And yes, I would like a few people to step up to be part of it. We don't, everybody for 32 fire safe councils and everyone has an opinion about what it should. I don't want this to become so involved with everyone that we can't get this moving, but it's very important for me, for us as a group, to have this key input and research. I don't have the time to do all the research, but it sounds like we've got a few folks in this room that are willing to help with that and bring that back through the executive board. And maybe I can ask for someone to put a motion on the table with respect to that.
So one more comment on, I use my smartphone. So I bring up the website and then I believe that it needs to operate effectively, because a lot of people are using these more and not a laptop and not a desktop. iPhone and Android, that's an aspect of this that I want to make sure that whatever we do ties into our functionality on it as individuals and also as an organization, to respect the time of our staff.
Good. Right. So can someone put a motion on the table based on what we discussed?
County Fire Safe Council form a ad hoc technology committee with folks that have some experience throughout the council that would help come up with a cost-effective solution going forward with better services.
Flip phone Dave would like to second that.
So I'd like to back up and not call it a committee. So if we could reframe that, it's a short-term ad hoc working group. It needs to come in, do its purpose and move on.
Keyword ad hoc.
Yes, keep word hack. So if we can amend the motion, and I'd also like to include in the that executive board will reach out and identify a few key folks that we reach out to folks that are interested. This will be small, lean, and we'll port back to the executive board. And honestly, within the next meeting. I mean, this is something that we need to resolve and come back with some recommendations.
The motion itself is sound. You just wanted to descriptively add the.
Correct. I don't want to form a committee. I want just a short, lean I'm suggesting a very lean ad hoc committee that reports back through the executive board to help work on this.
Accept that in my motion. Okay.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Kate. Janet seconds. Comments? Yes.
In the people who will do this redesign, or is it for the entire?
It's for website vendor selection alone. Not designing the website, just the selection of the vendor.
And you are
Karen.
gonna have a executive board member
Yes,
on that.
correct. They will include an executive board member and several ad hoc committee members. Yeah. Well, I have one question. Whoa, see? Great. Thank you, Doris. And we have one more question in the back before we go for the vote.
Yeah, they streamlined as they were modifying and adjusting their procedures and I think the fee. We have a call on Fridays, I can try and get some additional info and share it with them.
That'd be great. Thank you, Lester. Right. Yeah, but-
I want to share the person I was talking with, the streamlines. Make sure, right hands and left hands. Yeah.
We have a motion on the table by Paul, a second by Janet, the treasurer. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposition? Great, thank you. Thank you. Okay, moving down 7, old business. I know that Paul Penn is floating down some river in Europe right now. So I think, Steve, did you have any update on the futuring work group?
I can do a quick one.
Thank you.
So at the last meeting, we reported that the committee had done outreach to similar fire safety councils that have reached size of Eldorado County Fire Safe now. And the type of funding that is circling through. And so we continue to sort through that information, was actually very valuable. It's just taking a little time to get through. And overall, what we're aiming for is to come up with positions and a structure that we might recommend for Eldorado County Fire Safety Council to handle the workloads that have developed all of the programs. So we're in the process of doing that. We'll just mention that getting all that information in from other fire safety councils causes a number of other questions. So we are sorting through those as well. So it is moving along quickly. It's just work in progress right now.
Thank you, Steve. And Steve's been doing a lot of work on duty statements and others, just thinking through all of that, and much appreciated along with the rest of the team. 7B, so Tamara's our representative on the Community Wildfire Protection Plan Steering Committee, and I know we've got other updates coming from Tom and staff at OWOPR as well, but we'll turn it over to Tamara.
So I missed the last month's meeting, so I might be repeating what happened last month, but the stakeholder group for the CWPP is meeting monthly. We have our next.
It's a steering committee.
I mean,
Yeah.
is it called?
Yeah.
Steering committee is meeting monthly. It's next meeting is tomorrow. We're putting together site visits for the consultants next week. It'll be 3 days of all day site visits around the western slope so that they can meet with various community members, fire safety council people, agency people, see work in progress, where work was completed, where were proposed work, that sort of thing. Tuesday, day 1 is El Dorado Hills, Placerville, Texas Hill, and then the Highway 50 corridor. Day 2, which is Wednesday, is North County, so Colorado's, Cool Pilot Hill, Auburn Trail, then the 5. And then Thursday, day 3 is Shingle Springs, Cameron Park, London Springs, and South Pine. So Tanya, you're probably doing more of an update on that, but Tanya's been working to coordinate the route and meetings and all of that. Additionally, so as part of the contract we have with the consultants, we have, I believe, 5 community workshops, and we'll be looking at doing those in something like August, September. We're also working to add 7 additional community workshops just to make sure that also engage the Fire Safety Council, just to make sure that we're as comprehensive as possible doing community outreach, and there will be other tools as part of that as well, surveys, etc. But really emphasizing Fire Safety Council involvement, but also community at large involvement in the process. And then Tom, just a reminder, and you'll probably talk about this too, that there's a meeting at 1 o'clock today here for feedback and questions.
That's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Tamara. Item 8, Chair's report. I think I'll defer. We've covered a number of things and I'll just turn it over to, and Hugh gets one more chance as the outgoing chair to have a vice chair's report.
To be honest, I really don't have a lot. Things have been a little bit quiet. A field meeting was canceled last month, canceled again tomorrow, I think, so stuff going on. But I just continue to do that and I have been part of, as many of you know, I have been part of this whole new defensible space ordinance development and all that. Many of you know, it did go to the board yesterday. The Board of Supervisors did pass it. First reading, it'll go to a reading. The second reading will be July, a month later, and probably stealing some of Tom's ammunition here. But the second will be in July, and if it passes in July, then it will become effective in August. So I've been part of that. I will probably stay with that. Dorothy's one, but probably stay with that because there's some other things that will go along with that later that we're working on with the county. But other than that, that's probably what I'll stay involved in. I'll stay with the training committee, stay with those kind of things and see that follow through with that. But again, final thank you from me. I appreciate all your support. I mean, I've given you all kinds of chances to throw rocks and stuff, and you've been very generous. They were small. So anyway, I thank you for that. And I want to thank Chris because he hasn't been overly vocal with me, and I just want to appreciate that. Let him know I appreciate that. So anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Hugh. Okay, next up, Secretary report, Karen. Anything in addition? Oh, I turned it off by accident.
Thank you. No, I don't really have anything in particular to say. Angel and I will be meeting after this meeting to just go over some insurance stuff and.
Excellent.
Thank you for your service.
Yes, thank you again. Right, treasurer's report, Janet.
Unfortunately, everybody, I have a long treasurer's report. Quite a bit of material to go over. So first,
Make it exciting.
If everybody had a chance to look at the treasurer's reports, the exciting things in this month's treasurer report is that we did receive, I think since we last talked, our reimbursement from the California Fire Safe Council plus our advance. So we have funds to proceed with that program, and Jessica has been catching up with all of the people who have previously applied for the Defensible Space Program and have been on holds. We're working to clear those first. So that was an exciting piece of information that we have this month is that has come to be more present. Also, we received, you will notice on there, we received the 22-23 allocation for the Title III grant from El Dorado County. We are fortunate that the county has dedicated 100% of their Title III allocation from the federal government to us to do all the work that we do here. So thank you to Tom and county staff for making that allocation to us, and that $140,000 is shown on the grants sheet. Nothing else in particular on the treasurer report. You all should also have received as part of the board packet the proposed 24-25 budget. There were 2 sheets for that that I'd like to discuss today. The first one is the actual budget allocations, and there's a comparison back to 2020, and what you'll notice in that is that we have grown a lot. We have grown a lot. In 2020, the operations, the actual budget expenditures for the Fire Safe Council itself was $29,000. And we have grown for a number of reasons. We have a lot of grant work. We have a lot of website work that we're doing. Costs of things have just gone up. So you will see that the current year budget was $119,000 that you all approved at the beginning of this current budget cycle. And I'm proposing a budget of $171,000 for next year. And so I thought it would be prudent for me to tell you why I thought that that was a good idea. So in our contract support line, the prior budget was 52,000. That contract support line is for Lanatech, or, you know, our website vendor. It pays for Tamara's time as our grants person. And I proposed an increase to that line, primarily for the conversation of the updated website conversation that we just had. I built in the $15,000. If it comes less than that, great. But we do need to do something with the website. So that line increased by the 50,000, and I rounded it by the 15,000, and I rounded it to 60,000 just for a little bit of leeway. Internet support. We have hired this internet not internet IT vendor, and so I included some funding for that. Dues and subscriptions went up minorly. It consists of the QuickBooks subscription that I have to manage the treasurer's stuff, plus some funding from the Chamber of Commerce. Telephone is continuing. It looks like it's a lot. It's the 2 phones that we have for the 2 ladies to manage everything that we do. It's the monthly fee for that. Our accounting fees, we talked about that. We have a new bookkeeper that is working for us, Linda Parks. So I updated the bookkeeping fees to be consistent with our full contract for her. The rent amount went up. I included the $2,200 for the Veterans Hall, and I also we have understand that there might be an increase to our rent at the main office, so I bumped up just a little bit of funds there just to have some leeway. And then in our admin services, I increased that for a couple of reasons. One is that for the last 2 Decembers we were dark and Jessica was off duty, so I'm anticipating that this year we are actually going to continue doing the grant work that she does through the month of December. Also, Jessica has announced, and we've talked about it, that she is leaving us, and we want to have an overlap with her. So I funded an extra month of overlap for a new person to follow her and see what it is that she does, so that we can have a seamless transition.
What she does. Whatever that is.
I don't know what it is. So that it resulted in the increased cost to the 171,000. If you look at to make you feel better, because I had to make myself feel better. If you go to the next page, which is a grant fiscal sponsor fee page, I did an analysis of the fiscal sponsor fees still outstanding from our various grants. For the grants that we have on the books right now, we have unreimbursed fiscal sponsor fees totaling $600,000.
Fiscal sponsor fee?
Fiscal sponsor fees
600
for all those grants. For the $17 million in grants that you're waiting for the reimbursements for, David, there are $600,000 in fiscal sponsor fees. We anticipate, where's my CAL FIRE friends? We anticipate good news from our CAL FIRE friends. So I included another $200,000 for potential grants that we have applied for this year, and included the available cash that's currently in our bank account as of when I did this, which was the end of March. We have almost $1 million in funds coming in the future. Now, it's not all this year, it's over time, but there is a lot of funding coming our way to support the operations. If you divide that out, we have 5 years worth of funding at the level of $171,000. So we are not poor by any means. We do want to be prudent in what we're doing, but we are not a small operation. We are a significant operation. And so this is the proposal that I have on the table. David needs a microphone. Shocking, I. David.
Thanks for sharing. So I was thinking of living in an alternative universe, but apparently, did you know the budget didn't get sent out to us?
It's
I
not
never
on-
got it. I never got it.
Yeah, it's not on the email.
It wasn't in the set
It
of,
wasn't in the package, wasn't it?
No.
Oops.
that's probably on me. I would thought it was all part of the treasurer's report.
No, I sent it separately that we held
It's the Tuesday. Just that
package going out.
Okay, that's on me. So.
Something finally not on me.
How would you like to present?
What she missed.
I can send it out tonight and we can have you review it and we can do just an affirmation via email based on the presentation we just had. I don't want to ask anybody to approve something that you haven't had a chance to look at, but to help knowing we're going into the new fiscal year before the next meeting, we can amend the motion, send the proposed budget out via email and have you respond back.
I think the point is that we know, because we've been around it long enough, that this budget is a critical part of us going forward. Now, she's done an excellent job explaining it. But I just wanted you to know, a few of us had that expression like, what is she saying?
That explains the look I was getting.
Take it just a little bit more time and then do what you just said. Ken, send it out.
So what else would you like her to present? I'm sorry.
Well, no, I just, since we have not seen it,
Yeah, so I'll get it back out. You just have a little more time to look at it and then ask you to confirm via vote.
that's all I'm asking
Okay.
for. If you could make sure that happens.
Absolutely. Lester.
Let's see, the indirect funds that come from various grants, are those unrestricted? In other words, they're not limited to only certain types of expenses?
They fund the operations of the Fire Safe Council, so they support all of the things that we can.
But yeah, they're unrestricted.
Yeah, they're unrestricted in terms of, they support all of our operations.
Any other questions?
About the year-to-date expense report, that's the 5/31/2024.
Yes, sir.
This is a really good indication of how things go and how the flow goes. On the case of the 6130 line item, which is administrative services. That sounds like, I mean, there's more money engaged in that item, that line item. As the new budget goes forward, then it seems like the 6130 then would be one that you'd want to be pretty conservative in terms of your budget estimate that we haven't seen yet, that we're going to see. So I just want to make sure, how can you kind of talk to the administrative services item as to us going forward?
So the administrative services case for these two ladies right here. So I am looking at the year to date. We had a budget of $24,940 in the current year. To date, we've actually spent $27,000 for the administrative services.
Yeah, and that, I'm just saying that, I understand that.
Yeah.
Just by reading what I'm reading. How do you feel now with your budget proposal?
So my budget proposal for that line item is $37,000. I
Okay,
increased
so-
it for the reasons that we talked about, that I
Yep,
expect.
Okay,
There's gonna be 2 extra months for
Yep.
Jessica's position because she didn't work for 2 months.
okay.
And then we are overlapping with a third person for,
And this, Ken, is what I was kind of trying to get us to be able to do.
Yep.
Look at what we got, look at the budget as we're gonna see it, and then know that she's made the adjustments necessary going forward.
when you get it, there are some notes at the bottom with the thoughts that I had for certain lines.
Excellent, okay, excellent.
And I'll find it. We'll put it up on the screen today before people leave. So if they want to look at it even before you leave, I'm happy to do that. Tamara.
I just wanted to kind of let people know, what you might not realize is that as much as we can, we put the admin time as a separate project management line item in our grant proposal. So the fiscal sponsorship fee just pays for the things we can't actually put in as a line item. So like Jessica's time managing the Defensible Space Program, that actually gets, coded to the grant as a line item for her time. So it's really, so we spend more on admin services, but it doesn't show up here because it's paid for directly from a grant.
Makes sense.
And we're trying to do that as much as we can.
Yes, we are.
So that principal sponsorship being, you know, unrestricted for other.
And that includes Tamara charges her time off to grants as appropriate.
As appropriate, yeah.
Right, any other questions? Okay, so. I think they can hear me over here. Oh,
So,
let's keep that one.
so then open for the, for discussion is the approval of the current month report.
Yes, so we'll take them two separately. So any additional comments on the monthly treasurer's report? Okay, all those in favor of approving the monthly treasurer's report signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, treasurer's report approved as presented. Thank you, Janet. Item number 2 is the proposed budget for the coming fiscal year. I'd like to amend the motion to approve the budget pending me sending the actual budget documents out to the directors for review and response back with affirmation by date certain.
I'm satisfied that we could take an approval right now without you spending much time other than getting us the document. Because I think the discussion and the back and forth that we just had, including Tamara, was all that I was really interested in wanting to know.
Any other comments or concerns in relative to that? Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the proposed budget as presented by Janet for the next fiscal year, with the caveat that I will provide the actual budget sheet to everyone today. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposition? All right, budget approved. Again, apologies for that. And Janet, thank you for the effort for putting that together. Okay, next up, partners reports. I don't see anyone from BLM either here or online. Looks like we have Jeff Hogue from CAL FIRE. Jeff, someone hand that man a microphone.
Okay, good morning. What's going on? We're fire team right now. Horace. That's really. Horace. Everything's good. All worries been suspended. Basin, that was the last one we closed off here, I think, the last week. We're going through our last training academy for our firefighters this week. So starting on Monday, we'll be a peak staffing. That also excludes for aircraft as well. So out on the phone, we have our exclusive use shifts. We have a 737 that's going to be based out of there. Obviously, it's available statewide. And we also do, I have been told we will be seeing C-130 at some point this season. So late August is what I've been told. All our VMP burns, we had several that were planned for this week as well. Obviously, we canceled it due to so small down. And our DSI, we're continuing. We're actually we're about 1,000 more defensible space inspections this year than we were last time at this practice. So that's doing well, and that's all I have. Unless there are any questions.
Can you give the general sense of the Indians? I assume they're all people doing something wrong, but then like.
Yep, so the same messages in place. Obviously, majority of ignitions are human caused. You all know this. You can track. If you are going to be doing any, continue to do the defensible space work, but if you are going to be doing it, like Elizabeth said, do it before 10 a.m. You're going to mow, something like that when humidity levels are high. Or if it's during a red flag warning, pay attention to the weather there. Red flag warning, we have winds, low humidity. Try to not do it until conditions improve. And then, of course, when fire conditions are ready to burn, it's ready to burn it. So like I said, that's why we were really busy at the beginning of the week here. We were red flag. Pay attention to that, and safe fire season, unless there are any other questions.
Awesome.
There was a longer discussion on the social media platform Nextdoor about your inspection.
Yeah.
I was wondering, do you guys have anybody who monitors social media?
Yeah, so we have our units, public information officer, he's the one who does the messaging for that, and we coordinate with our defensive state inspector. Is there an issue?
No, I was just wondering, because there were a lot of people who were confused, they were saying, opposing things about what it means to have a CAL FIRE inspection. And so I was wondering if there was someone monitoring it to maybe correct before, movements can go.
Sure, yeah, so I'm assuming that's from people that were contributing to the social media, we're kind of giving some misinformation. Hopefully not everything that comes up.
Oh, no, not yet. No, just. Everyone trying to get their own. Right, with it.
Yeah, so we do. Speak with videos with the PIO. We do the best we can to make corrections in there, but we also don't want to get so far into the back and forth types of things, so we try to stay fairly high level on that and just get pretty clear information and then just leave it at that. It kind of, deteriorates. That's
Oh,
The spot, I got context also on Nextdoor. The context was essentially, people don't know when you're gonna be out there inspecting, or where you're gonna be inspecting, or what context you come onto the property to inspect. So that public information officer obviously has the ability to send out also information that makes everybody feel more comfortable. Because the worst thing that happens on anybody that's on Nextdoor knows, somebody will say something, and then about 15 or 20 people will comment on it. And it's not, and then I realize, because of my knowledge, it's not correct. I mean, the whole discussion is worthless, really, because it's not the truth of what's going on. Do you have any comment on trying to get good information?
So yeah, we try to, or at least anytime we're gonna be moving them in inspection area, we post that on Nextdoor. And explaining, that we're gonna be working in the area, so that way, obviously, when our folks show up, it's not like an emergency. Yeah, people kind of get nervous when they see the CAL FIRE folks show up. But we also did a coordination with OWOPR this year. We sent out flyers to the areas that specifically that we're going to be working, trying to explain what we're looking for, and we also had QR codes and directing people to websites like Ready for Wildfire on what's going to be expected when we come out and do our inspection. Social media, it can kind of have mind zone, you can take off the same direction. So if it gets down to that comment, I apologize. We try to be pretty clear on what we're posting there, where we're going to be, and timely as well.
Thank you.
The social media, news releases, like I said, CAL FIRE does, or the unit does, are those shared with the fire safety councils that we can post them as well?
So we have them we obviously put them out on our social media, and you're welcome to share those on your the fire safety council social media site as well, or just get click and share it. No problem.
Great.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. All right, Office of Wildfire Preparedness and Resilience, Tom.
Our newest addition to our office. And she's going to be filling the role of fire safe coordinator. So working very closely with you. A lot of you might have already at least talked to her. Some of you have met her. But I did want to give her just a quick minute or so to introduce herself. Run through a little bit of her background and some of the things that you can expect to work with her on. Tanya, real quick.
Your name? I am the new fire safety. Clinton's office. After that, I did political campaigns and managed them, and so I have been around a lot of different people in here. I've also lived here for almost 40 years in El Dorado County. I have raised children here. I have up here myself, recreated here. I have friends and family that live in all of your area. So I am very familiar with the area, and I'm very invested in not just the people, but our geography and where we live. So I'm very excited about this role. As your fire safety coordinator, I will be your day-to-day point of contact, main point of contact with the county. I will also be the liaison between California Fire Safety Council, Colorado County Fire Safety Council, all the associate councils, the wildfire agencies, and the county. By attending your meeting, I will be able to recognize the unique needs of all your different communities and make sure that I'm working to integrate that into part of your framework of the county and its plan. I'll try to keep this circular flow of information and resources going as the liaison, and I'll also have be participating a lot with Jenna and public outreach and education, and I will have a very active and updating and getting input from community members and stakeholders, as well as the mapping part of it and project. And I'll also be assisting Richie with Fireway. And I'll just be generally the extra kind of a lover or whatever they need. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rania. So as you can see, that's a very full plate of things that she'll be working on. This is her third week with our office, but has dove right in and has been really instrumental in getting our CWPP sites or the site visits all coordinated and working with all the fire safety councils with doing that. Speaking of CWPP project, Tamara, I think you covered a lot of the stuff on my list, so won't spend a ton of time here. I did want to thank all of the fire safety council for being so engaged in the planning process. I think this is going to be a real key point in the project. So happy to have all that engagement. Obviously, given the size of our county and the planning area for the project, we aren't able to stop at every location we'd like to. It's going to be a packed 3 days we're in the county. But the consultant has offered if there are any areas that are of significant concern or high risk and aren't able to squeeze those in those 3 days, that when they come back out to do public workshops, that there's a potential they could revisit some of those locations. As far as tasks that the consultant is working on right now, we should have the preliminary fire behavior modeling next week when we do those site visits, so we'll run through that. They will also be working on the plan and policy review. And then we'll discuss this at our steering committee tomorrow, but start developing the website design and FAQs and hope to have that launched in July. Our Weather Creek project, we had our kickoff meeting with the consultant last Thursday, so they are diving into the environmental review process of that. And have an encouraging project schedule. Anticipate having the first list of no issue parcels reviewed and submitted to FEMA for clearance within the next 2 to 3 months. So I think things will progress quickly with that. So we're excited about that. Yesterday, the board did accept the BLM grant. So we will be working with BLM to finalize the details on that and get it signed. We anticipate an effective date of July 1st. Funding available immediately is $100,000, and then we will issue modifications to the grant as additional funding becomes available. So as a reminder, that first 100,000 was slated primarily for public outreach. So we'll be working to develop a strategy to spend those funds. As Hugh mentioned as well, yesterday the board, they approved the first reading of the defensible space ordinance. So we'll go back on July 16th for final adoption, which puts us at a mid-August effective date. So happy that that was approved yesterday. So we can move forward with continuing to build out the defensible space program with the county and get those inspections underway. We did have our Crystal Boulevard County Emphasis Area Public Workshop last week, pretty well attended. We had about 25 people there. Those inspections will start in July, and then Lake Valley Fire will be kicking off their inspections for the Upper Apache area in July as well. As a quick staffing update, as a reminder, we were allocated an additional 4 positions. One of those was the position we filled with Tanya. We do have 2 other defensible space inspectors slated to start hopefully the beginning of July, and then have an offer out for the senior analyst to lead the Weber Creek project, and anticipate that person starting mid-July. So we will be staffed up and ready to go. I was hoping to have a little more good news to share. So I'm also listening into the Board of Forestry meeting right now. I think they're a little behind on schedule. They had an untimely fire drill.
Oops.
Approving the fire risk reduction community list. So after an extensive effort between our office, CAL FIRE, local fire districts, and other county departments, we submitted an application back on April 1st. Colorado County was recommended to be included on that list. So they will be voting on that probably here within the next hour or so. So I will share more information as available. Your report, unless there are any questions.
Chris.
Excellent job, board, in terms of the presentation of the hazardous vegetation ordinance. As you know, you didn't get the votes of the board the way you would have liked. It was a 3-2. It was approved, but that also shows that there's a separation within the community. That's the way I'll define it. About what's important and how we should approach it. Your office has to be aware that the 2 districts that voted no, supervisors, certainly there's got to be a way to get out to those people of the constituents of those respective districts, and let them know how we want to be working together. More of a let's get together approach versus the final vote's probably not going to go any different. And that means that some of those individuals, constituents of those districts where the no votes are, may not want to participate and may be more defensive, fewer here, in terms of the administrative part of the ordinance. I'm just saying that as a statement. Hopefully you guys are recognizing that, the offices, and that you'll be doing your best to bring everybody together. It may take some time, as they described at the discussion about implementing this fully, because obviously doing the implementation part sometimes is harder than the actual action. Anyway, any thoughts on my comment, or if not, that's okay. I don't need a.
Sure, and I think that's a perfect opportunity for our office to maintain this partnership with the fire safe councils. In both of those districts, there are a large number.
Which district?
2 and 4.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought maybe others. Yeah, it was the Supervisor Turnbull, District 2, and Supervisor Parlin, District 4.
So I think that's a perfect opportunity for us to continue this collaboration when we go out and do our focus and section areas. We emphasize it through some of the materials that went out for notices of those sections and have adjusted all of our letters that go out. So it's not as government-y sounding. We're going to inspect your property, yada, yada. But it's just a shift in our education and outreach, and emphasizing that this is our goal is to educate you on what the principal base is, but also help you protect your property. So I think it'll happen over time. But we absolutely appreciate support from fire safe councils within those areas.
Okay, thank you.
Right. We have one other question for Tom in the back, Lester.
Yeah, when we went online trying to find the form, well, let's see, the current version of the draft ordinance, plus some of the other documents, none of it was showing up. And I'm not sure, we were going through the Board of Supervisors agenda, and we came up with an error that it's all wrong. Anyway, so is the version that's on the mobile office website, is that the most current version? And the other was the status of the reference to FAQ and also the implementation plans and I wasn't sure where those. And then my third question was the period between the first reading and the second, is that on the period and
Sure. So touching on the availability of materials, until usually the day after a board meeting, they're updating all of the items, so they're not available until that process is done. The red line version, FAQs, implementations guidelines, all of those materials are currently available on GoWalker's website. There's a defensible base ordinance update page, there's a separate tab for it, and all of those materials are right at the top. The period between the first reading and when it goes back for final adoption, we would have loved to have it go back next week, but we were constrained by time. There are required public notices between first reading and final adoption. So we weren't able to get that lined up in time with the local newspaper. So that's why the July 16th meeting of just an activated one. If those are I think there was one more, sorry. So availability for comment. So right now, if you would like to submit any comment, it goes directly to the clerk of the board's office. Really not design the time between first and second reading to make any more introduction. What we relayed to the board yesterday, right before they voted on it, was there was one comment about clarifying the types of structures for real estate transactions. Excuse me. And that one we will address through our FAQs and put information on our website. That way, if there are changes to that civil code going forward, so you don't have to adjust the orders again.
Great. Thank you, Tom. And I guess I would like, if there are specifics to the defensible space ordinance, happy to have folks reach out to Tom and staff. I don't want to dive into the weeds today and spend, we have a lot of other things, but Tamara, you have a question.
On the fire risk community list from the Board of Forestry, can you just, I can't remember what's the benefit of being included on that list?
Sure. So the primary benefit. a potential discount on their homeowners insurance policies. And unlike some of the other opportunities that are out there for discounts, being on this list is the only thing that you have to do. So you're not gonna have to have your property inspected. It's just reaching out to your insurance company and letting them know that El Dorado County, specifically the unincorporated area, is on that fire risk reduction community list and pursuing that discount with them. Additionally, there are opportunities for local agencies that are on that list to be prioritized for grant funding for wildfire prevention grants.
Awesome. Thanks, Tom.
Does that supersede Firewise? Or do you have a Firewise and a risk community?
It's all part of the Insurance Commissioner's Safer from Wildfire Initiative. So all of these things are elements of potential discounts that insurance providers can carry. Correct. Great. And again, I'm super excited with the team that's developed over there. I think just a lot of support, and we need to leverage every ounce of all of their time. So yes, thank you. No, I have one here. So next up, Tim Cordero was with us, but I think we had to step out to other meetings, so we don't have a Fire Chiefs Association update. But I have Lucas next, so we'll just go to Lucas for. Oh, okay. Why don't you just roll right in and do both?
So for the Fire Chiefs Association, for the report that obviously did with fire response. So
Hadn't noticed.
Evacuation alert, big cognizant of the work we're doing, probably needing some more activity with apparatus responding, things like that. So these are busy season. And then there's a multi-company, multi-agency active shooter drill. Special thank you to Chief Blumenthal and ESO for putting that on, and the folks that may or may not know. We present for an active shooter event. It's obviously present in this county, and so law enforcement as well as EMS, fire are actively preparing for those scenarios. So the worst scenario that already is. So very dynamic, very helpful and drill that is going on for people involved in this. So it was really great help with that. So passing that along. Segue into FPOs. I don't have any answers for the chiefs that you asked me. I'm not one, so I'm gonna skip the question part.
Oh yeah, good. No, thanks, Lucas. Thanks.
There, so we have a really great opportunity to meet with the Office of State Fire Marshal. And they provided a presentation on basically it's called the clearinghouse. And it's all things defensible space, home hardening. So all of the idea of the documentation, the studies, the resources, the contact that you're looking for when you're looking at home hardening, you're looking at defensible space, is all allocated into one slot. Like the type of people using right? And it's it was really neat to see the state kind of taking that on as kind of a big brother to collect all of the resources. They are vetted, and it is not when you Google something, and that's not all for. Don't do that. This is kind of that safe accurate of that information. It's really helpful to folks. There is we recorded the presentation on our Zoom link. So if folks are interested in that, I can get it through a single point of distribution so that I don't have many folks in this room emailing me. And we get that out to folks. But it's a good helicopter view and a walkthrough. Click here. This is what that is, which I appreciate handholding the next guy. Walking through things like that very good. We did obviously have a booth at the fair as far as the FBOs.
along Fire Road. And it went extremely well. I thought we had a fire chief involved. And it's adults, got to scorching water, which was awesome, especially for a couple days in there were pretty warm. But we trained them up on the pass method. And only spray a water food 60% times. Then, the one we're updating our fire safe plan list, so we've got to have a fire safe plan for community or commercial development in high fire rate severity zone. We have to do a fire safe plan for that, and not just any way you can do. There is a caveat that the local jurisdiction can approve somebody that isn't on the list, so we're not hand triggered to sign somebody up, but we're trying to vet those fire safe plan preparers. So that they meet minimum standard or put out good work that FBO, conglomerate or collective group of fire nerds, which we're happy with, so it's listening. Questions, comments, concerns? Alex, you can go for a second, but.
Yes, on the Zoom link. Can you send that to Ken and we'll send it out?
Yeah, I think we made the eye contact. We're good. Yeah.
Okay.
If you haven't seen it, page 19 and 20 of our new wildfire preparedness one has the whole hardening pages, including reference to your information. And I was wondering, had you seen that yet? The 2 pages. I thought it was pertinent to your comments, and I believe everybody here ought to at least get a copy of this. Yep, box in the back.
I have one on my phone.
Okay, thanks.
No, that's great though. But again, these resources out, whether you got the book or you hear about it, getting that accurate information is really key. So kudos to you folks for asking that.
Right, David.
Chance to share my ignorance. Fire safe planning, is that just for like a new development that gets an approval or?
Correct.
That also.
Yeah, so if you build a community in the middle of the forest, we're gonna make sure it's as not silly as it can. So, we're not doing one way in, one way out anymore, fuel mitigation, things like that to make sure that folks that are developing these intermixes are doing it safe and quick manner and has thought behind it rather than just dollar signs. So,
Awesome. Thanks, Lucas.
Thanks, Lucas.
Much appreciated. Okay, so Brad Stewart reached out from El Dorado National Forest, couldn't make it today, but he's committed to being here next month. The RCD, Courtney, did you have any updates from the RCD? Or I know that Mark was busy, was going to try to make it, but.
Yeah, hi, Courtney Faxon with. Yes, right, Mark is busy. That's always is doing the good work that we do. I did just want to give a shout out to OWOPR and Jenna for the coordination of affairs. Went really well. We saw a lot of residents that were very interested in all of the entire safe and prevention information that we had. And Jenna created a nice map to bring the kids around with their parents so that we could talk to them. So very nice job on that. We have gotten started on the roadside hazardous tree removal in the cabin tract on Highway 50 last week. So we're moving along quite swiftly on that. And Team Rubicon has wrapped up their work for the month, and they did quite a bit of work removing fuels and hazardous trees in the Grizzly area. We'll be providing the information, dissecting the information that they will provide to us, numbers. Put that out. Also, we will be at the Grizzly Flat anniversary celebration, the group did grad council on her day, yes. So if there's any questions, let me know. Otherwise, great job, fire safety.
We have one question in the back.
So update us on the status of the South County grant and the request for proposals.
Sure. Lester, you are the region called. The now, and there will be a selection committee to select a contract. And that usually and either Ben or Mark. I would accept that.
So for the other. Councils.
Enunciate as much intentionally.
Got it.
For the other fire safety council members, yeah, that will be selecting the contractor or contractor. So those that project could be starting on the ground.
Yes, exactly. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Lester. Awesome. Okay, so Eric Brown with SMUD is out of town this month. So moving on to PG&E, and I don't want to dive into a lot of this today, but I do. So Elizabeth and I have been engaging on some concerns that are coming up from a number of places relative to that. No surprise to anybody, but it's concerns over the material left after PG&E contractor operations are occurring, doing power line right-of-way clearance. And so Elizabeth provided some really good questions that I shared through Mike Webb. And remember, Mike Webb he's the public safety operations liaison for PG&E. He's not their veg management coordinator, but he's been working really hard to try to be, I guess, that ombudsman, for lack of a better word, to his leadership at PG&E to try to carry our concerns forward. And so Elizabeth, we shared a number of questions and concerns relative to information on door hangers that PG&E is leaving, the ability to take material over 4 inches, what they're leaving, all of that, concerns about homeowners doing their defensible space and then having power line clearance activities come after that, and then material being left that potentially could place the homeowner, out of compliance. So we posed all those questions, and I hadn't shared them out yet because I really wanted the opportunity for us to go back to Mike and have some more dialogue first. I was hoping he would have been here today. But I wasn't 100% satisfied with with the information that came back. I don't think it answered the questions that Elizabeth brought forward that we were asking about the concerns being raised. Yes, we all need to advocate for ourselves when it comes to talking to the PG&E contractors, but it goes way beyond that. And I just think that we need to dedicate some time and discussion to working more with Mike or whomever the appropriate folks are. I know PG&E leadership is working to look for opportunities, but I think my commitment is to try to come back and have a discussion and maybe a little more engaged dialogue with the right folks here. So I don't know, Elizabeth, and again, I don't want to dive into a big discussion today, but your thoughts, is that?
Agree. Some good response. Throwing the code back at you, and I thought I'll quote him where we were, but also in the interim, Ron, on our education committee shared with me the codes language of the new Board of Forestry guidelines that would regulate PG&E work. If those go through, it would solve all these problems. So I don't know when that gets adopted, whatever, but the new Board of Forestry guidelines would require work along the power lines that they would chip and remove everything they drop, basically. So that would satisfy me, and I think most people out there. Anyway, I think it would be nice to have that dialogue. So, the PG&E work is going on right now, and I know I was getting questions from people in my community, and the door hanger said they would only chip things less than 4 inches.
And to me, that just was creating a major, issue with the physical space, inspections going on in the county now, so PG&E work came in and dropped a bunch of stuff, and then the inspectors come in and say, blah, 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 and if it's bigger stuff, there's no way for a homeowner to get rid of it. You know, you can only take up the 18-inch material to the county, waste facility, they won't take anything over 18 inches, so what do you do with big rounds for less if you don't have little? So it was, I think. We don't want to make a situation, put homeowners in a bind, we want to figure out some way to make everybody able to be successful.
Yeah.
And we all get to the price, so anyway, yes, I agree. Good conversation.
All right, thank you, Elizabeth. So commitment is we'll come back and have some more discussion to try to work through that. So EDSO OES as Lucas and the team, I'm sorry.
It's Sherry. Sorry, I had
Hi,
promised
Sherry.
you guys an email after I had escalated conversations through PG&E, and I totally forgot to send that out to everyone. But I will do so because we are having major problems here in Goldridge, and they're putting it all on the homeowner, and it's just not fair. They have to open up a case number through the regular PG&E number, and so far I'm not getting any good feedback, but people are waiting. So I just wanted to. I will send that out of what I know, just what I learned from escalating my complaint for the
Great,
whole community.
No, thank you. I'd forgotten about that, and thank you, Sherry. We'll yeah,
So
we'll
sorry I
consolidate
didn't
that
send
with.
that out.
No problem. Okay, we can chat afterwards. Right. All right. So Lieutenant Morton and as Lucas said, OES team is busy today working on active shooter drill. They'll be back next month, and no report from the Bureau of Reclamation. So with that, we'll move on to program reports, grants and funding. Tamara.
Okay, so this month we submitted submitted a grant application to the PG&E Innovation Program for $100,000 for the Defensible Space Program, and then it would include some money to pay Fire Safe Council representatives to do defensible space like a second. So we'll see if we get that. We also submitted a $54,000 grant to support the 7 additional community workshops for CWP that I mentioned earlier. That was submitted to the community navigator. The fund out of Colorado. The California Fire Safe Council grant that we submitted for $100,000 for the education and outreach for all Fire Safe Councils, that is still pending. I just checked it yesterday. We were supposed to hear in June, so we'll see. I also emailed them to find out if there's some kind of timeline or ETA they could let me know when they're going to make the decision. I know they've been having quite a bit of staffing turnover, so that should be part of the problem, but as of now, it's still pending. And then we also found out that our $6.6 million grant application to the community wildfire, I don't know what the DNG stands for. Anyway, it's the U.S. Forest Service. We submitted a grant to pay for defensible space and hazardous tree program for vulnerable households, and we did not receive that grant. That's all I have.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tamara. All right, next up, assistance programs. Jessica. You're live.
Good morning. Good morning. I am going to go over the year-to-date report for all 3 assistance programs. For our chipping program for the year, we have completed 188 jobs, cleared 323 acres, which is roughly about 28,622 cubic yards chipped. And we've spent $84,693. For our defensible space, now that we have successfully reopened it, last month we only cleared a few more So for the year, we have evaluated 44 properties, cleared 11 parcels, spent $12,141.10. The average cost per parcel is running about $1,084.93. And we have served 4 veterans, 9 seniors, 3 low income, and 5 disabled. Those numbers are just of the parcels we've successfully cleared for the year. It's not including all the applications. For hazardous tree, we've assessed 62 new parcels, completed 129, identified 131 new trees, cut 304 trees, and spent $322,878. And yes, I am leaving soon. I'm moving to Texas. I love you guys. And I think about September, August, September.
We don't want you to leave.
I don't want to leave either. I try to convince Ken to let me take my job with me, but I can't. Question.
And so when I was at the fair, working the booth, I questioned a complaint from the person there about the hazard tree program, and I guess maybe we had some potentially inaccurate information posted. So can you clarify for us right now what the guidelines are for the hazard tree program? Like how close the trees have to be to a home, what the general process is, so we can accurately present it to people when they ask.
So we briefly went over this, I want to say 2 or 3 meetings ago where we spoke about CEQA clearance. When we started the grant initially, we had more leeway and we were able to take into consideration trees that were past the 100-foot clearance. We don't have that clearance anymore once we actually started the grant. So trees that we were counting past the 100-foot mark, once we started cutting them, we found we couldn't take them into consideration anymore. And this is temporary. Tamara is working on changing that in the future. Hopefully we can get these clearances to complete trees that are further than, but as of right now, we're only cutting trees that are within that 100-foot defensible space zone. So, yes, yes. So if it's not within that ordinance of the 100-foot, we can do the sequence.
You have a Lester question in the back?
I spoke earlier on, there was a mention that trees that were adjacent to a road or a driveway. And when I looked online, I noticed that's not included any longer. I was just trying to make sure, did I just have it wrong from the start, or was that in the tank? And the other question, so the folks, because I just got a message from somebody in our area, they just learned that they were denied because it was outside. Would they be eligible again, or would they be reconsidered? Would they need to reapply if the CEQA issue gets addressed?
It depends. So I know we were looking at trees that could potentially block a driveway. If it's outside the 100-foot zone, we had to disqualify those trees. And if we can get, because of CEQA, if we can get CEQA clearance in the future, they will be reconsidered. But the issue that we're coming across is that as of now, we have limited funds for tree removal. If they had trees removed on their property, it's a one and done. They're not able to reapply. And this is something we had to think about, how many uses people really need in the long term if they already had 4 or 5 trees taken down. I'm not sure if the trees outside of that zone will be reconsidered once we do get CEQA clearance, if they've already had trees cut. I think it depends on the severity, and we'd have to look at it case by case.
This one was that they've been marked, but they weren't cut yet. And anyways, I just didn't know whether to tell them to, once we hear, does he reapply?
I would recommend, here's where we're at with this, so we don't get caught up. I would recommend they reapply. Where we're sitting right now is that the short version of what happened is that after we applied for and received the grant, there's a microphone on here. We wanted to, we had an exemption under CEQA to treat areas outside of the normal defensible space zone. So we were treating trees all the way out to 150 feet. Once the grant was approved, that exemption had expired and we didn't realize that. So we worked with CAL FIRE and they said, hey, you only have an exemption to go out to 100 feet. If you're going to do anything beyond that, it's going to require additional CEQA approvals. So what we did for this year, just backed it down to the 100 feet that we have approval for. We've applied for a grant, one of the two grants Tamara mentioned, for the hazard tree program, not only to fund it for another $1 million, but also to pay a contractor to perform the mitigated negative declaration that's required under CEQA to get that. So it's going to be a little bit to get that. If we get approved, hopefully we will this summer, then we've got to go through and have a contractor do that CEQA analysis and get approved. And then we can go back, and I suspect we'll have to go back and relook, you know, where we left off and most likely take new applications, but I think we'll take all that into consideration.
So go ahead.
Timing wise, we're far out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gonna be 2 years.
Right.
Right, so I think for the short term, it's 100 feet.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll be able to go out to 300 feet. That's what we're doing the clearance for, but it's gonna be a while. So.
Okay, mine was statistics, but just to her point, this is a new program, everybody. We're trying to do what's right. We believe it's a good program, but we gotta let it evolve a little bit. It's 100 feet. Statistics. How much is the cost per tree? Did you tell me that already? I'm sorry if you did.
I did not go over that. I'm not sure if I'm tracking an average per tree. Let me just pull up my other.
Because I think it's significant when you said it was $1,300 and some dollars per parcel as a cost. To us who then are not using the program, it's kind of a gauge. So I just was wondering what the cost per tree was.
I am tracking an average cumulative job cost. Right now per parcel, we're running about $2,132.78.
Okay, thank you.
Great. All right, we had one more question from Bob, and then we're going to move on.
Yeah. Lotus. You know, I had a tree that moved along, and then we found it's 103 feet. So, but you know, that's cool. That's not a good plan. The homeowner has to share.
Potentially, so there is up to a 25% cost by the homeowner if they don't qualify for low income.
So the point I'm making here is that, you know, we're in the middle of the Woodside fuel reduction project, and the contractor is passing on, you know, economies of scale discounts to homeowners if they're mobilized in the area. So I talked to them, they'll take the tree down to $500, which I think is less than wow. What is that?
Oh, yeah.
The bargain what it costs the fire to go. So just thought I'd pass that on. And you know, we're gonna pass that on to our members. The contractor seems quite open to doing that kind of work.
Good information.
I just want to clarify that the average job cost, that wasn't $2,000 per tree. That was just per parcel. I can find out the numbers per tree. I'm just not generating that, but I will find out on average what it's costing. The problem is that the trees are all different sizes.
Yeah.
We had to generate a cap for the small trees so they wouldn't go over a certain amount with the big trees. It's really hard to generate a price per tree because once you get in there, you don't know what you're expecting. Some of them have, you know, they're dead on the inside. Some of them have bugs. Some of them are next to telephone poles. You know, it's all about how many hours it takes and what the workload really looks like. So it's really hard to base it off of cost per tree. They might tell you that, but really it's not going to be $500 per tree once they start doing the work. regardless, I wanted to give you guys this number. If you want to know your job status on hazardous tree, they have their own admin number that you can call and find out for yourselves. It's 530-786-0399. Any more questions?
Thank you, Jessica.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. All right, moving on. Hugh, anything additional on training?
I just have a couple quick things. I've already kind of gone over the training thing. You all know that's going, but there's a couple things. You all know the books are in the back, but I just want to reiterate, we ordered 7,000 more of those. We gave away, I think, 2 or 3 boxes at the fair. We got these, but if you want them, you need to get a hold of Carrie. They're in our office downtown. You can get those there. Also, is there anyone here from Serrano today? Okay, see me after. I have something for you. And then last of all, I just like to take this time, and I don't know, I hate to put this on Elizabeth because I didn't talk to her, but Elizabeth, as you know, is running the training, the whole thing about the defensible space overview. If you have anything you want to say about that, Elizabeth, I would give you the time to do that from me.
Yeah, we've got a team of folks working on, going through a lot of the issues that we learned that have kind of bubbled to the surface after our initial round of defensible space home hardening assessor trainings last year. We've had people out in the field, and we sent out a survey and got feedback. And so we're working on a series of issues. One, coming up with a standardized form for everybody to use. We would use for the next training round. 2, trying to figure out the best ways to connect with the public to get them to ask for these free assessments so that we can get our trained people out there doing the work they want to do. And 3, coming up with a coordinated group of handouts and a toolkit for assessors so that we all have what we need to do very professional and good job to go out there. We can all be on the same page. And then also looking at ways to support assessors once they've been trained and released to the field. Some are saying they're not feeling confident to really go out there and do it. So we're looking at ways to support them and get them up to speed so we can get all 70 people out there to work. Anyway, we'll have more updates. We're still through issues, but we're making on this.
That's it for me. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Thanks, Hugh. Yes, and thanks, Elizabeth, for bringing that along. Outreach and education, Alice.
Big deal. Let's see, so it went really well. We had lots of visitors and really did a good job in connecting with people who are associated with the Fire State Council too, and handing out lots of those workbooks to those people and others, which was great. And I did want to, one thing we did this year is we tried a little harder to explain the Associate Fire State Council and let people know which one they might be in. So we had a binder there with a map for Fire State Council, and Olaf made a great map of all of the kids who could really read well this year. But I did want to give a shout out to the volunteers. So these are people who work real hard in their own Fire State Council and still came out from 3 to 4 hour shifts to do this for the county. And so I'm going to actually name them. We have Angel and Greg Ball from Strawberry, Hugh Council from Texas Hill, Mary Marks, I think from Camino, Shannon Edwards, Diamond Springs, Ken McKinstry, Gallagher Estates, Lester Lebeck, Oak Hill, Elizabeth Standovin, Stanbridge, David Zielinski, Placerville, Dorothy Fine, Scott Fine, okay, Camino, and Paul Gilchrist from Greater Cameron Park. I just want to thank them all for helping me with that. And then last, I just want to mention is, with the education part, I think, it came up once or twice and it also came up at the fair. This time more than the other 2 fairs, there were some angry people about stuff. And a lot of it stems from social media. And I think we need to start thinking, and I don't know what the answer is here, but as people are thinking, I think we do actually need to start looking at that. And I understand that CAL FIRE can't necessarily spend a lot of time on this. But I have heard from other fire state councils where by addressing those and having conversations with some of the people that are having these strange information out there, that they get good contacts, that they're able to do serious education in the community with people who might not be listening otherwise. And so I think we in general need to think about how we might want to in the future deal with social. Oh, and then I think this August 4th thing is still coming up, but I haven't heard any information. So
It's still coming up.
it's still coming up. So you think if anybody wants to volunteer for that, it's through the ad?
Yeah, it's new at Pennington and there's every night meeting and the county money.
Okay.
Well, and just again, Alice, thank you for once again spearheading the efforts for the fair. And I was out there Saturday and just the whole group was amazing. It was a good thing. Okay, 9E, Karen, governance and new council formation.
Before I'm gonna jump back real quick to the secretary. I just want to remind everyone that we do make up a contact list. And it's especially important to Janet to have all of the treasurer's names. So if your board is changing in any way, if you had your elections for your board in late now or going forward, make sure that you get those new contacts to our board so that we can make the appropriate changes. New councils, we don't have any new councils at this point to vote on. We did have some, I met with a gentleman named Gregory Clark from Paso del Diablo Court in Placerville. I talked to Jill Key, who is from the Placerville Fire Safe Council, and they're looking at having them join in or that they're part of it because they're a real small, I think 15 homes, something like that. Also a Mark Musgrove from Emerson Road on 49 by Chili Bar. Went and met with him also, and they too are looking to form or join another council because they're a small area. So it's been nice to go and sit and talk to the different communities. They're becoming more and more aware of the value to being a fire safe council or a fire wise community, whichever best fits their location. So that's all at this point.
Great. Thank you, Karen. Bob?
Yeah, I don't want to take up a lot of time. I have had 3 communities or neighborhoods approach me about annexation. I'm still not clear where to go with that. And by the way, Gregory Clark initially came to me and I said, you.
He did, and yeah, he did mention that, and I appreciate that. So very nice gentleman.
And we can chat some, Bob, about how to handle that offline. Great, thanks, Karen. Item 10, project reports. I know I was just sort of do the David Chris combination on so far and biomass.
Like, so far as meeting 1:30 is by Zoom, and if you want to join us and send me an email, we can help you have a link. I don't think, Chris, we're gonna have a so far biomass meeting until October 24th. There's nothing. It's too bad. I need help on draft. You see that on your agenda. It's an excellent meeting and very helpful for fire insurance, all of us homeowners. But I do a homeless veterans kids conference at the same time, so I keep missing it. So I need some support there. The Resource Advisory Committee, which I think Lester's on too, right? We're gonna have an in-person opportunity on July 9th at 2 p.m. 40 at the Forest Service. We still are not properly constituted because the United States Secretary of Agriculture has nothing, all she has to do is sign a piece of paper. But, you know, we have these applications, but we are not properly formed because there's no signing the papers for getting new members. It's frustrating. So that's about $100,000 or more that we're sitting with. So we have good projects already to rock and roll. We take them down. Anything else on this one? I guess your turn, Chris. David. Oh, sorry. Yeah, Chuck. Go back up. We're still working on the job. I didn't see you last Friday, yesterday. Oh, you were there. Yeah. Probably, Give me a check, give me an email.
Okay, what I wanna say is, it was very interesting in how they had two insurance companies coming in and talking about their process in terms of dealing with clients on discounts and defensible space and avoiding the cancellations and getting reinstated and so on. And the main point is that these two particular insurance companies seem very proactive in terms of doing all the right things. They were talking about using more lines of evidence, not just old photos that may be out of date and stuff like that. They talk about interacting with clients and asking, giving them a chance to get further information. Being specific about what this can be fixed and what would happen if you invested in being more compliant with home hardening and so on. In general, it was a very optimistic thing. We were talking about needing more transparency and more interactive stance. And it sounded like that's the way things are going in the insurance industry. These two were sort of the first who agreed to hear in public and say these things. But in general, that meeting is the United Policy Holders nonprofit. And it's very good. It's easy to listen to. It's only an hour. Last week they had an hour and a half on shopping for insurance, fire insurance. And it's just very useful. I mean, I think we all might be interested in a lot of it. It's all recorded, it's all online. They have a resource center where there's a lot of things about it. So it is very useful. And this meeting yesterday was, I thought it was fantastic. It sounded like it would probably take a couple of years to all get done, but it sounds like the insurance industry is starting to put in place.
Great. Chuck, I want to thank you. And frankly, Ken and Chuck, if you could take over that one line item on our agenda from me, because I have an ongoing conflict with this. Not that many people want to process on those veterans at the same time. So anyway, if you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. Send me an email too.
Great, thank you, David. Good intel, Chuck and Chris.
RAP is the Wildfire Risk Reduction and Asset Protection Project, and it's listed on our agenda, so you can see what RAP's all about. Thank you so much for doing that, and if you could take that over from David, I'm sure he'd appreciate it, so we get the information. My assignment has always been County Biomass Working Group. Essentially, that started out and we were getting a lot of flow of projects that were being proposed. It has slowed down. David just made a comment that there's not going to be a so far biomass until when? October. I'm having the same trouble. My source is not getting me information, therefore I can't pass it on to you. I don't know the value, Ken, of having this item here, except that we do want to keep attached to the subject. Not necessarily that we're going to have a report every month, though. That's what I'm finding out.
Well, then we can certainly put it sort of in hiatus with all the opportunity to come back at any time and report out. Because obviously we have a lot on the agenda.
Just to simplify our meeting.
Yes.
Chris disagreed because it is part of so far, it's one of our most basic functions. So if we could just keep it there.
Okay.
Report out on.
I'll work with the two of you offline and maybe find a streamlined way to have that report.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Thank you both. All right. Item 11, community council reports. Anything for the greater good of what's going on around the Associate Council network? I see Ernie going for the microphone.
Good morning again. The Grizzly Fire State Council is having its 20th anniversary this Saturday. We're only 2 years younger than the High Alvarado County Fire Safety Council. And I think Logtown is something close to them. So there's a lot of history, and I would recommend any of the new fire safety councils start to collect information. I hate to do this, but we generated a book and I think it's something that all of it should be considering to pass on the corporate knowledge to the next generation of council members. Thank you.
Thanks, Ernie. I think I saw, we're gonna do Janine Greenstone, right? And then Dorothy.
There and Mark community that I wanted, but it's not intended for all of it from the last event we had, so that's. We're getting more interest in doing stuff. And in the newsletter that I send out every month, so. We just got another request yesterday, so I thought about that. We also got a call from Sleepy Hollow, and Sharon, I don't know if you people in contact with me. We're gonna I've asked them to come to our meetings and kind of get an idea of what the workload that's involved in the business, and going to be a couple of different struggles because they're not going to move away like the fire and sound so not. But anyway, we had a nice conversation, and so we're gonna come to our next meeting and engage. That's all for everybody.
Great, thank you. Brittany.
Shout out. Fire safety council and to Richie, because when we look at the boundaries for the fire safety councils, there was a dead zone between Placerville, Camino, actually into Mosquito and over to the Georgetown area. So working together with Placerville and with Richie, it looks like we're closing in the gap and bringing those people in some coverage for them. So thank you guys.
Awesome, thank you. In the back. It's
Hi, I'm from the Sierra Springs Fire Safety Council, just a few quick points. We in Sierra Springs have started our bi-yearly mandatory evaluation. So we have a cadre of volunteers out inspecting every property in our community. And we are hoping to get that done within the next month. Number two is an adjunct to the comment about the RAP meeting. I also attended it by Zoom. And I submitted some questions to the representative from CSAA. And the questions I asked was, who are going to be their assessors? To what standard are they going to be trained, and whose standard are they going to be using? And so she wrote back in a chat text that they are going to be they're going to be training their own, or finding contractors. They're going to be training their own assessors or inspectors, and they're going to the IDHS Safe Home standard. So I just want to point that out because as the committee moves on with the training or setting up a training standard, I think that would be a very important avenue of communication is with the insurance company representatives to make sure we're not saying one thing when we do our assessments, and then if they get an inspection from an insurance company, there are significant differences. And then one other small point that we were visited by a contractor that is going to be doing widening, nothing to do with fire, but on Clear Creek Road. So that's supposedly happening in the next month or so. And just to be aware on a fire safety situation, if anyone has to go through that area, the road might be restricted. And that's all.
great. Thank you, son. Other fire safe councils, anybody else? Paul.
So I wanted to report out Greater Kemper Fire Safety Council. We've teamed up with multi-agency effort to create 200 feet of defensible space around the Pine Hill Preserve County Park Unit. BLM meeting, OWAPA meeting, Cal Fire, Tribal Fire. It's a big push to protect or reduce risk for about 10,000 homes. And
Thank you, Paul. David? Did I see you had your hand up?
So from the fair. Big black hole we discovered is there's no single Springs Fire Safe Council, so that's something I think. Somehow we have to create that. It's an enormous area that's not covered.
Someone does. Great, thank you. Did Alice, were you? Okay, all right, anyone else for the? All right. Oh,
I have average true cost.
okay. Just give it up.
Statistically, the average amount we're spending per tree is $1,083.01.
Thank you. All right, yes, thank you. Okay, lastly, any public comment that wasn't already covered through the Fire Safe Council reports? Any additional? Yes, please identify and grab a microphone.
My name is Scott Holman. I'm founder and CEO of a company called Redline Safety that's headquartered in Cameron or Greenwood. We're a Delaware C Corporation. We build advanced wearable technology for firefighters. Our technology monitors firefighters' location, environmental conditions, toxic gas exposure, and vital signs in real time. And this information will not only keep firefighters safe, it enhances incident management operations, better protects communities from wildfire, and with widespread adoption, ultimately improves the insurability profile of homeowners. Not a single person in this room that couldn't appreciate that part of it. The El Dorado County Board of Supervisors, months ago, authorized us for some funding to do a pilot program because they recognized that the economic impact we could have on the county if we headquartered ourselves here permanently with our manufacturing and product development. Said, hey, go do a pilot program. Well, we just found out a few months ago that we're the ones that are going to be putting it together. So my question for the council is, as we move forward, if you have any questions or input or otherwise involvement in a pilot program of that magnitude in the county, I would personally like to hear. And also, we would like to include the fire departments in the county. Yes, we haven't really had a lot of time to develop any relationships. So if you have any insight connections with any fire departments, right now we have California, we have Washington and Colorado interested, but we'd rather do it here in our own county because this is where this economic impact is expected to take place. So just want to let you know what we're working on is I spent 33 years in the fire service, 3 years in the military. So doing this type of work, it's a big learning curve for me. But I can tell you straight up that this is a pretty magnificent approach to technological management of wildfire that have a tremendous impact. Work with the state of California, Homeland Security, university systems. So that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I'm happy to chat with you offline and get some more information. Any other public comment? All right, well, everyone, thank you again for a long but productive meeting. Reminder, next meeting is July 17th, but it's at the American Legion Hall on Greenstone. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
There, it's okay to start without me.
Yeah.